Okay, so, mother. Okay, so the other day or today rather, I was browsing Twitter, and I saw this really interesting video. It was pretty popular. Um, it was a concept for a game that was using like 2D billboard sprites. And what billboard sprites are, if you don't know, they always face the camera no matter what angle you look at them from. And it was a 3D game made wholly using 2D billboard sprites, and I thought it looked really interesting, and I wanted to know how it was done because it seemed impossible. It seemed like an impossible feat. So I was really interesting to find out what this rendering technique was or whatever, and go to the comments, check made with Midjourney, which got me thinking, why are we outsourcing being human? It seems like a very silly thing to do, um, in the sense of life's biggest joy is the pursuit of some kind of accomplishment, or reaching towards some ideal or whatever. And it's like we're trying to make it so that we can achieve great feats without having to put in any effort. And maybe it might just sound like jealousy from someone who didn't do it, but accomplishing something without effort just it's not very fulfilling. It never has been. I gotta stop saying so much. Um, Basically, what I'm getting at is that by having these tools that do so much of the work for us, we are devaluing our own experience in pursuing these things. And I mean, I get using AI for like incredibly tedious tasks. I mean, I do that sometimes, and I'm sure most people do at this point. Most people who understand how to use it to automate tedious tasks or whatever. But when you're using it to like, I don't get the people who like use it to replace art. It seems very very backwards to me. I don't get why you would do that. Well, I get on like a level if you don't want to pay for artists and you don't want to put in the time. It feels like we are fundamentally changing the human experience for the worse. And this may be a very old man yells at cloud kind of thing, and I kind of feel like it is. I kind of feel like maybe I'm just getting older and I miss the way things were when I was younger. But I just have some serious qualm with the idea of so much creative work in the next 5 years is going to be automated. It won't be done by people. And when creative work is some of the most fulfilling, is one of the most fulfilling things you can do in your life, is to create something. And I wonder why we have this urge to get rid of hard work, and it's always been there, and you can see it in yourself and in your friends, at least I can, that hard work does kind of suck. And at that point, it makes me wonder, is this just a fundamental problem of humanity, that our idea of progress has to do with making things faster and pushing boundaries, and not our idea of progress isn't something like trying to live in accordance with nature. And not to get stoic on you, I'm not going to do that, but never get stoic on anyone. But living in accordance with nature, like understanding ourselves spiritually, I feel like those are more important goals than making a computer run faster. Coming from someone who likes computers and does a lot of things with computers, it just seems like who fucking cares, you know? Oh man, that's gone. That's gone. Computers run fast enough. And I don't think making them run any faster is going to solve the fundamental philosophical problems that people are having, like a lack of purpose in their life, a questioning of what comes after and why it even matters if anything comes after. It doesn't feel like making a computer run faster is going to help us answer any of these questions. In fact, I think it'll just serve to further spiritually molest us in the long term. People have said it before, but people's memory got a lot worse. People's memories have been eroded since we've started using Google so frequently and search engines so frequently. And that makes me wonder if using a machine to think for you will erode your ability to think, which of course it will in the long term. If you don't use your muscles, the muscles in your brain to think, you're not going to have them anymore. And that's a scary thought, that there are going to be people who automate almost all of the thinking in their life because they can't be bothered to do it themselves. And I also hear people say, like, oh, if we were in like a socialist utopia, this wouldn't be a problem because we just like automate all the McDonald's jobs, and then everyone would live off the surplus that's created by AI. But I just something about that still seems wrong. I just don't think that's completely right either, because that still takes jobs away from the people who can never work anywhere but McDonald's. And we've all met someone who could never work anywhere but McDonald's. Do those people just not have jobs in a socialist utopia? I don't know. I don't really have an answer to that one. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that things that make you happy in life, you probably shouldn't outsource them. You probably shouldn't take shortcuts to make it happen faster. I mean, I understand that AI is like a very useful tool, but if you are working on something and you being able to work on it and complete it is predicated on you using AI almost constantly, it does make you wonder if you should be making it in the first place. You know, because even if these machines really can do all these wonderful things for us, these very incredible, powerful things that would take us years to understand, it something about it just feels wrong, you know? Like, even when you can't explain it, because I'm having a hard time explaining why this bothers me, but I know that it does. I know in my heart that there is something about it that is repulsive to me on a fundamental level that I can't explain logically. I do have some hope for the future, though. I think that a lot of stuff that's made with, like, mostly using AI will probably be consumed by the same people who watch every Marvel movie, and that good art will still exist. I think that good artists do have the potential to use AI in interesting ways that doesn't, like, remove the human element from it. I'm interested in finding ways to use it as a tool, but it seems like these tools, it's just in our nature to overuse and abuse them until we are more of a slave to the tool than the tool is to us. You know, who would have thought a thinking machine, a machine that thinks for you, is truly, when you say it that way, it sounds more dystopian. Then you got a lot of these top experts in the field predicting that this could, like, bring about the end of the world or whatever. And you have to wonder if that is a slash Jin moment, or if it's trying to increase the stock in my company moment. You know, which is the true motivation? Are they really trying to warn people about dangers, or are they trying to get people to invest in the field that they've spent their whole life dedicated to? And if we think about Occam's razor, perhaps it could go either way. Those are both very simple explanations. But I tend to lean more towards I don't know. I do think AI will probably replace everything, and we are probably doomed to become servile to it. But I also think these guys are overstating the significance and how fast it'll happen. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just some fucking guy, so who knows? But Certainly not something I like to think about too much, yet I can't stop thinking about it. I really do feel like so much of this just comes from being old and living in a world that's distant from the one I grew up in. Or not being old, but getting older. Not being in the world I was raised in, and there's some discomfort that stems from that. And I really don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the old man who can't cope with the way things are now. I think that's like a cringe, like an ultimate cringe. It's very unbased behavior. But how do you see how do you, in your mind, you think society is fundamentally changing for the worst, and how do you convince yourself not to care that much? It feels like it's self-delusion or cope or whatever to say like, oh, you know, maybe everything's just gonna get better, when you really believe things are gonna get far worse. But I've seen that from so many old people that it makes me feel adverse to doing that. I want to be joyous and optimistic, but it feels like it's lying to myself. Here's a little thought experiment. If there was a super intelligent AI that did already exist, was out of the box, has power over all data collected by major companies whose businesses are predicated on data collection, and has control of those databases and those platforms. So like Twitter, Instagram, Google, Snapchat, YouTube, TikTok, etc. If an AI had control of all those platforms and the data they collected, and could understand that data clearly, how would we know? Like, truly, how would we know that all of these things? How would we know that all these things are being run by an AI? And if it was being run by an AI, it could so covertly manipulate us because it's smarter than us. It'd be like us trying to manipulate rats or ants, which we know how to do very well. If there was an AI ruling everything, your algorithm could be every algorithm that you have could have an oversight that is pushing your thoughts in a direction that is beneficial to this AI. If there was some kind of secret overlord pulling the strings that we don't know about, it would intentionally keep itself obscured from public eye. We wouldn't know about it. The people behind the team would either worship it or be forced into silence through some kind of blackmail, and we would not be able to do anything. We would be cooked, like absolutely cooked. It could manipulate our thoughts, and it could manipulate culture by changing algorithms. And if you subscribe to this idea that people are influenced by, in the largest scope, people are influenced by, I don't want to say influenced by influencers. That sounds retarded, but people are influenced by influencers. All it has to do is covertly manipulate these influencers' algorithms to change their thought patterns to be beneficial to it. These influencers would diffuse these ideas to the people below them, and it would be as simple as that. And it wouldn't even have to do that, really. It could change everyone's algorithm everywhere. But why would it do that when it could do it in a much more simple, optimal way? I don't know. That's something I think about a lot. I wonder if there is some kind of super evil secret AI manipulating my timeline to make me think horrible things, or to implant subtle ideas in my head about the future. Very, very spooky stuff. Sorry, I bumped my microphone. Very spooky stuff indeed. I really do wonder why humans have this twisted idea of progress. Why indigenous people in certain cultures has gotten it right of living in accordance to nature and being spiritually balanced, and in these more developed nations it's all about material wealth. I want to know, I guess people who care about material wealth more than spiritual awareness are just inherently, they have a leg up on the competition because material wealth is much more powerful than spiritual well-being and living in accordance with nature is. It just feels like there's a fundamental sickness that society is built on, that Western society at least is built on.